Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Shenanigan Plays The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie, sort of, not quite yet. We're going to jump into the Cold Steel recap, and then maybe we'll have time for the 3 on the 9 novel as well. So let's just go ahead and do it. The year was 1204 of the Septian calendar, and all across Erebonia spring was in bloom. Reen Schwarzer, son of a ruling lord from the remote region of Ymir, made his first steps into Trista to join the prestigious Thor's military academy. Little did he know that he would be taking part in a new class, Class 7, comprised of 9 promising young men and women. Together, with their instructor Sarah Valestine, he and his classmates traveled across a great deal of Erebonia, conducting a series of field studies to assist the local townships. It was through these unconventional studies that they witnessed the deep divide between commoners and nobles. The hold the aristocracy had within the empire, and the hostility lurking just without just without from the Calvard Republic. Though tensions between noble and reformist factions were at an all-time high, they had still hoped to enjoy Heimdall's summer festival. If only the Terrace C and his Imperial Liberation Front hadn't stormed the capital. In time, Class 7 welcomed 2 new students, Milliam Orion and Crow Armbrest. The bonds between the classmates continued to swell, but at the same time Reen grew increasingly at odds with mysterious power within him, a raging strength like that of an ogre. Yet this infernal strife felt as nothing compared to the overwhelming strife of the Empire. Chancellor Osborne's popularity continued to rise, and with it came rumors that nobles were in league with the Imperial Liberation Front. As fall arrived, the invigorated Crossbell State declared its independence, and were declared the vile culprits behind the monstrous attack that wiped the Empire's guerrilla fortress off the face of the map. The Chancellor made to declare war through an impassioned speech, riveting his people, but before he could finish, a bang resounded and he collapsed, a wound in his chest. The sniper was none other than the Terrace C, now unmasked as Crow Armbrest. It was then that the nobility, as the Noble Alliance, stormed the streets with giant humanoid machines to occupy the Erebonian capital. Class 7 rose to the occasion, defending the academy with all their might, only for their efforts to be for naught. It was then that Reen searched within and recalled another humanoid beast that dwelled beneath their feet. He called this beast forth by invoking its name, Valimar, the Ashen Knight. Crow, however, had a beast to call his own. In the Azure Knight Ordine, he trounced Reen in a decisive clash. Their classmates witnessed it all, and knowing Reen to be their greatest chance at survival, threw themselves forth to give him time to escape. Reen wished for anything but, crying out as he was forced to abandon those he had come to adore. On that day, the Erebonian Civil War began. A month had passed since the Erebonian Civil War was commenced. Reen awakened, pain coursing through his body, and rose to his feet. As he surveyed his surroundings, he realized he recognized this place. It was the Isengard Range next to his hometown of Ymir. Together with the Black Cat Selene and the Ashen Knight, he returned home, and trouble had followed. His father was gravely wounded in a brutal attack from the Noble Alliance's hired hands, and both Princess Alphen and his sister Elise were kidnapped by a strange girl clad in black. But in tragedy there is hope, for he also learned his beloved friends from Class 7 were still alive. Reen worked tirelessly to reunite with his classmates, meeting success with the exception of Crow. He would soon appear as well, however, in the midst of another raid upon Ymir from the Noble Alliance. Its mighty airship, the Pantgruel, appeared, and Supreme Leader Duke Cayenne with it to invite Reen aboard. Though Reen knew it to be a trap, he accepted with the hope that he could save the princess and his sister. The Duke invited Reen to join the alliance. As Reen contemplated what his next steps should be while surrounded by the enemy, Crow appeared to relay the reasons behind his horrific acts of terrorism against the late Chancellor Osborne, as well as his past, deeply moving his former classmate's heart. Though the Pantgruel housed the Sephir Corps, Ouroboros, and the ILF, Imperial Liberation Front, Reen met with Princess Alphen and pushed through their myriad defenses to escape to the deck, where the two were rescued by Class 7 aboard the Prince Olivert's Courageous. The prince bequeathed them his airship, and they agreed to use it to find places in need and liberate them from Noble Alliance occupation. They succeeded through one conflict after another, eventually leading to the freedom of Trista and the royal family at the Carroll Imperial Villa. Yet their joy was short-lived. Crown Prince Cedric remained in the Duke's clutches, and Valflame Palace was transforming into something sinister. Class 7 trekked through the Infernal Castle, fending off one opponent after the next to reach the Vermilion Throne. They were greeted by Vita and Crow, weapons at the ready, and Duke Cayenne, whose twisted ambitions were now laid bare. Before they could stop him, he forced the Crown Prince into the Vermilion Knight's core to awaken the corrupted Vermilion Apocalypse. Crow and Reen take to their divine knights to defeat this Vermilion Demon Lord. Though they managed to succeed, Crow was mortally wounded in the struggle, and a deeply heartbroken Class 7 surrounded him to impart their final goodbyes as he passed away. The Noble Alliance's Rufus Alburea then burst into the scene to arrest Duke Cayenne using his true position as leader of the Chancellor's Ironbloods. Even as Chief of Staff of the Alliance and son of the nobility, he schemed in secret to sabotage them, under the direct orders of none other than the late Chancellor Osborne, who revealed himself to be very much alive. He declared his intentions to take over Ouroboros' Phantasmal Blaze plan in an act of war against them, but this meant nothing to Reen, who in his grief burned hot with anger at the revelation that his friend died in vain. In the face of his anger, the Chancellor merely responded, "I'm glad to finally see you again, my son. You've grown into a fine young man." 2 months passed. The Noble Alliance was snuffed out along with the war, and the Chancellor wasted no time ordering Erebonia to claim Crossbell as its own in a swift invasion. The Calvard Republic reacted in turn by sending their own troops in a counter-offensive. Reen, now known far and wide across the Empire as the heroic Ashen Chevalier, was sent to Crossbell to fend them off. At the same time, a grand speech commenced to announce Rufus's appointment as the very first Governor General of Crossbell. And the year was 1205 of the Septian calendar, and March officially signaled winter's end. The members of Class 7, each now armed with wonderful memories of a place they had come to love, elected to leave Thor's military academy in hopes of reaching newfound dreams. The only one who chose to stay behind was Reen. Just before their train departed the station, they all promised to one day meet again. In April 1206 of the Septian calendar, Reen disembarked a train to enter the modest town of Leaves. It would be his first day as an instructor of the brand new Thor's Military Academy branch campus established by Prince Olivert. With 3 students under his care, Una Crawford, Kurt Vander, and Altina Orion, Reen was to lead them as part of Class 7 Special Operations, charged with the various field missions involving intel gathering, surveillance, and supporting the locals. They received much needed help from Reen's former classmates throughout these missions, for their time on the field seemed to grow more perilous by the day. Ouroboros met them at every turn, and a mysterious figure, Azure Siegfried, met them while claiming to be acting in lieu of the chief of the gnomes. But it wasn't this revelation that struck Reen so much as the man's striking resemblance to the late Crow Armbrust. 2 students joined the Class 7 in June, Musa Egret and Ash Carbide. It wasn't long after this that they encountered the Steel Maiden Aryenrode, a stunning woman who leads the Stahlritter while bearing the honor of being among the Ouroboros' strongest. As she left them, she lingered on the Society's repetitious experiments bearing fruit. In July, new Class 7 was sent to Heimdall to complete a mission of the utmost importance, capturing a squad of Calvardian agents known as Hercules. They pursued these agents in the underground tunnels that took them to Heimdall Cemetery, where students of the main campus successfully apprehended them. Reen brought his students to the grave of Crow Armbrust, noticing right away that the earth had been disturbed. Upon reporting this and having the grave exhumed, they were shocked to discover that it was empty. Not long after, the members of the old Class 7 reunited for the first time in over a year, celebrating with tears of joy before delving into their plans. They reasoned that Erebonia was heading into an all-out war against the Calvard Republic, and that they had to do everything they could to stop it, while uncovering the dark secrets that lay beneath the Empire's surface. Their first step toward this goal was to defeat the dark dragon of ancient lore that lurked beneath Heimdall. With the guidance of the Hexen clan's elder, the Crimson Witch Roselia, they plunged into the labyrinth lair and succeeded with aplomb. To celebrate their contributions in the capture of the Republican agents, both Old and New Class 7 were invited to a party inside Valflame Palace. There, Reen met privately with Emperor Eugene III, who revealed the dark curse that plagued the Empire, and Chancellor Osborne, who unveiled how he cheated death despite being shot in the heart. Suspicions arose when Reen returned to the party with Ash nowhere to be found, but it wasn't until a gunshot resounded that all were truly alarmed. Many rushed to find its source and were horrified to discover it. The Emperor had been shot, and Ash, now restrained by the Chancellor, was the gunman. Due to the gun's make, Ash was widely reported to be a Calvardian spy, and martial law was declared. Reen worried greatly for both him as well as Altina, who was forced away on orders from the Intelligence Division. Chancellor Osborne proclaimed the attack no less than a declaration of war, and as such, enacted the National Mobilization Law to unite his citizens. In response to this, Class 7 met with Thomas of the Church's Grelsritter, as well as Roselia, and they made the Chancellor's plan clear, to bring about the Great Twilight and the end of the world. Before they could learn more, a bell chimed as pitch-black mana erupted from below Carroll Imperial Villa, transforming it into the vile Graal of Eremos. With friends and students by his side, Reen arrived at the Graal of Erebos' lowest level, where Crown Prince Cedric and his Vermilion Knight, an unconscious Altina, Chancellor Osborne, and the Chief of the Gnomes, Black Alberic, awaited them. Though impossible to kill without a specially forged weapon, they faced against a great holy beast, long corrupted after taking in a majority of the Empire's course, in hopes of subduing and separating it from their enemies. As they realize the hopelessness of this tactic, the Courageous explodes, taking the lives of Prince Olivert, Viscount Arsaid, and Toval with it. The Crown Prince hoped to end Altina's life while Reen was compromised by the Holy Beast, but she awakened and escaped, rushing to defend her instructor first thing. Before the beast could strike her, Milliam also came to defend her little sister. The Holy Beast raised its great claw and slashed down upon Milliam, ending her life and transforming her into the sole weapon that can end its life in turn, the Sword of the End. Horrified by his dear friend's sacrifice, Reen fell into an uncontrollable rage, took the Sword of the End as Valimar, and killed the Holy Beast, unleashing the curse it hoarded within it from across all Erebonia. He had brought about the Great Twilight with his own hands. With Reen's rage seemingly impossible to sate, Crow, who regained his memories, and his Azure Knight Rutger and his Palatinate Knight and Arianrode and her Argent Knight swooped down to surround and restrain him. The last to call his knight was Osborne, who revealed himself to be the Awakener of the Ebon Knight, Ishmelga. He then approached, lifting Reen by the neck and telling him, "Now, Reen, let us begin. Together we shall write the end of this wretched fairy tale in ink black as despair." The plans of Chancellor Osborne and Ouroboros came to fruition in the form of the Great Twilight, and its curse that drives citizens to take up arms and rush into conflict spread throughout the Empire. 1 month later, the Erebonian government took advantage of these heightened emotions to declare all-out war against Calvard Republic. After awakening from the comas brought on by draining their spiritual energy, Una, Kurt, and Altina found themselves in the mysterious Aran, a village led by the Hexen clan's Roselia, and home to many a witch. Old Class 7 was also present, feeling deeply crushed by their recent failures. It was only with New Class 7's encouragement that all regained their hope, and with it, they formed a plan to save Reen, whom they believed was being held captive by the Black Workshop. They traveled the continent to drive spirit stakes into various points known as singularities. their hope being these would eventually reveal the location of the Black Workshop. Along the way, they managed to reunite with Ash, who fled to Hummel after being captured, and Muse, also known as Mildine, who claimed her title as Duchess and formed the Viceland army to oppose the government. Despite great opposition from Ouroboros, they successfully placed all the stakes, allowing them to locate and infiltrate the Black Workshop. At first, their awaited reunion with Reen is darkened by him having lost himself to the overwhelming shadows of his own power, but through impassioned pleas, they were able to bring him back and escape. The full party, led by Reen, wasted no time traveling to Soul Shrine to meet with Crow. There, they discovered Osborne's true objective, the rivalries, a series of ceremonies that pit the Divine Knights against one another in order to awaken the Septarian of Steel. Reen and Crow's Ashen and Azure Knights engage in this ceremony. The Ashen Knight emerged victorious and, having fulfilled his purpose as an immortal, Crow began to fade away. Reen, however, used the powers granted to him by the rivalries to bind Crow's existence to his own, saving him. The heroes later received an invitation from the Pantagruel, and there, Muse presided over a meeting of leaders from the Boral Kingdom, the Principality of Remeferia, and the Calvard Republic. She proposed a plan to resist Osborne's Operation Jormungand, Operation Mille Mirage, and all present were inspired to move forward with it. Reen and company were offered roles in this plan, but the heroes instead opted to take a third path that would avoid major conflict between countries. As if to shatter the hopes of this progress, Ouroboros infiltrated the meeting. However, the day is saved by the appearance of the Courageous Two, piloted by none other than Prince Olivert, who was thought dead. After the heroes boarded the Courageous Two and successfully evaded Ouroboros, they find the Spectral Moon Mirror. Through its ability to reveal the truth behind the many mysteries surrounding the Empire, they not only learn that Osborne is the reincarnation of Emperor Dreikel's the Lionheart, but they also discover that the origin of the curse engulfing the land is the Divine Knight Osborne now pilots. The truth now clear, Reen resolves to participate in the rivalries to defeat the one who started it all, Ishmelga, the Ebon Knight. The heroes traveled to the shrines where the ceremonial battles were fated to take place. Reen then fought and defeated Rutger piloting Zector, the Platinum Knight, and Arianrod piloting Argrion, the Argent Knight. 2 days before the war, the skies are darkened by the unveiling of Tuatha de Danann, the Imperial Fortress, the final stage for the rivalries. After a precious day spent celebrating bonds with loved ones, the first shots of war are fired, and Operation Jormungand and Mille Mirage are enacted. Reen and company are joined by heroic companions like Estelle and Lloyd to take on the Imperial Fortress as a team. While en route to his heart, Reen encounters Prince Cedric and Rufus, awakeners of Testarossa, the Vermilion Knight, and El Prado, the Auric Knight. He conquered against each of these adversaries before meeting face to face with the awakener of the Ebon Knight, his father. The two cross swords in a fierce clash filled with emotion. Not long after, victory goes to Reen. Their next move was to abolish the source of the curse. The heroes wielded the power of the Earthen Prison, bequeathed by the Holy Beast of Earth, to manifest Ishmelga's malice into physical form, putting everything they had into defeating this final foe. They won. The accursed twilight that wrought the Empire was finally banished, and the battle across Sumeria's soil ground to a halt. With the reason for their existences now fulfilled, Crow and Milliam, the latter of whom lived on as Valamar's blade, began to fade away. But not before Divine Knights used the last of the power given to them by Aidios to save their lives, bringing about a true miracle. It was on that day they had successfully put an end to the wretched fairy tale, carving a new path toward a happy ending. Okay, so we're actually not going to get into the 3 and 9, because it's really long. It's going to take like 3+ hours if I read that whole thing out loud, and I am eager to start this game. So, yeah, you can find the 3 and 9 online, on NIS's website, where the official translation is also placed. So, I would encourage anybody that is as interested or invested in the lore of these games as me to go there and read it. Just because it's recommended by Falcom. So, I mean, you know, the guys that make the game say, hey, you should read this before playing the game. So, hey, you should read it before playing the game or, you know, watching me play the game. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go ahead and end this whole recap saga right here. And next time we will get into the Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie. Until then, I will see you all then. Goodbye for now.